Maybe you from the 1970s, when the Los Angeles Rams was known as the Fearsome Foursome because of that defensive line. Or maybe you in the city of St. Louis, the gateway to the Midwest, where the greatest show on turf brought home the first ever Super Bowl championship. Or maybe you in the here and now, with the Rams back in LA, winners of Super Bowl 56. It doesn't matter because when it comes to this, it's all about the Los Angeles Rams. Horns up, Rams South. Time to talk Rams football.
And good day, ladies and gentlemen. January 8th, 2026. Happy New Year to all my Rams family out there. Happy New Year. It feels good to be back on a Thursday. It really does. I had to change some stuff. I had to do a couple of shows on a Friday, but it feels good to be back on a Thursday here on Ramley Talk here. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for watching on the Playmakers Network YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Why don't you? If you're watching on my personal LinkedIn page, go ahead, connect with me on LinkedIn, and also slide over to the Playmakers Network YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. The regular season is over, ladies and gentlemen. The playoffs are here. The playoffs begin Saturday. And we'll go through Monday. How fitting. It is what it is. The teams are in. The road to Santa Clara and Super Bowl 60 now begins this weekend. And for us, the Los Angeles Rams kick off the festivities of the postseason in the NFL, which we will get to momentarily. But also, if you are a Spotify fan, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, you can also check Ramley Talk in the podcast version. And it's also available on what other podcast platform that you love. So if you're not a fan of those four, don't worry, we are everywhere. Podbean, Stitcher, what other podcast platforms that are out there? I know the main ones are the four that you see on the screen, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. But I know Stitcher is out there. I know Podbean is out there. Podcast is out there. But we own all of that. So you can get Ramley Talk wherever. You just don't have to focus on the main ones. But we are on the other platforms as well, the smaller known ones as well too. So anyway, you want to listen to Ramley Talk, that's free to listen to Ramley Talk, Playmakers here. I'm going to give you how I feel and what we're going to talk about. But it's only one thing to talk about. It's the playoffs. So let's go in here and let's get started because pretty much it's not going to be a long show. Matter of fact, you ain't even going to get a commercial break. We're just going to go straight through it because this is all we're talking about. Wildcard weekend, Rams Panthers, Saturday, 4:30 on Fox. Saturday afternoon, 4:30 on Fox. I want to see if it will be Joe Davis and Greg Olsen on the call because I know Tom Brady and Kevin Burkhardt, they're going to be calling one of the other games. Matter of fact, let me pull up the schedule for the playoffs here. It's a rematch from Week 13. Speaking of which, let's go back to Week 13. Week 13, Carolina beat the Rams in Charlotte, 31-28. Not the best game from the Rams. 3 turnovers, all by Matthew Stafford, 2 interceptions and a fumble. One of those interceptions was returned for a pick six. The Carolina Panthers, they converted 3 for 3 on 4th downs, with 2 of those conversions being touchdown plays by blown coverages in the secondary. Bryce Young looked it very well. Victor looked it very good. So, yeah, I think we'll get Joe Davis and Greg Olsen on the call, and Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady will be calling the Niners and Eagles on Sunday because Packers and Bears will be on Prime Video, which means that's Al Michaels and Kurt Herstreet. So, yes, I think we'll be getting Joe Davis and Greg Olsen on the call here, the B team for Fox on the call for this game. But back to Week 13, as I said, 3 turnovers by Matthew Stafford. Bryce Young threw 3 touchdown passes, 2 of which was on 4th downs, and it was just a disappointing loss for the Rams here. But we were riding a 6-game winning streak going into that game, and you just had a feeling this was the type of game that'll probably get the Rams caught, and it happened. Shout out to Bryce Young for playing a well-managed game. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. He gave what the Rams gave him, and he did it. So 15 for 20, passing 206 and the 3 touchdowns I mentioned earlier. Chuba Herbert was the leading rusher for them in that game with 83 yards on 17 carries. Jaden Coker was the lead receiver with 4 receptions, 74 yards. And remember, I said 2 of them plays were fourth down touchdown. He had one of them. Blake Cohen was the leading rusher for us, 81 yards on 7 carries and a touchdown. Matthew Stafford, besides the 2 interceptions, the 2 touchdown passes, both of which to Devontae Adams. I think that's the week after when we played Seattle was the game that we didn't see Devontae Adams again. 18 for 28 for Matthew Stafford, 243 through the air. It was just one of those games. Both teams had over 300 yards of total offense. Rams had 379. Panthers had 358. Like I said, Panthers won the turnover battle 3-0. 3 for 3 on 4th downs. The Rams was 4 out of 6 in the red zone, which is good. Carolina was 0 for 1 in the red zone, so that tells you they caught us slipping in the secondary to get those touchdowns. They didn't march down the field to get those touchdowns. They got big plays for a touchdown. Matter of fact, I can break it down to you. Chuba Hubbard, 35-yard pass from Bryce Young. That was a touchdown. Mike Jackson, 48 interception return for a touchdown. Jalen Coker, 33-yard pass from Bryce Young for a touchdown. Jacqueline McMillan, 43-yard pass from Bryce Young for a touchdown. 43, 33, and 35. Those were their 3 offensive touchdowns. It was not in the red zone. So we can take that as we may, but that happened in week 13, Thanksgiving weekend after Thanksgiving. So yeah, Thanksgiving holiday for us was soured a bit because the Rams went to Carolina and got caught. But that was in November. We're now in January. The Rams, they get a reprieve. They get another redo. As you see, this is the betting odds from DraftKings. The Rams are in the 10.5 point favorite going back to Carolina, even though the Panthers beat us in week 13 as we just went over. The betting odds, they don't believe in Carolina. And for most people, like the NFL aficionados, they still believe the Rams is the best team in the NFC. We have not looked like the best team in the NFC in the past 3 weeks. The 16-point comeback that we allow for the Seahawks, which is why the Seahawks are the number 1 seed. If you want to blame anybody for the Seahawks to being the number 1 seed, you blame the Los Angeles Rams. Because the Rams on Thursday night had a 16-point lead in the 4th quarter, and they blew it. And they blew it to the point where Seahawks won it in overtime. So if the Rams don't blow that lead, the Rams are sitting here on a first-round bye. That's the number 1 seed. But you did that. And then you followed up Thursday night with a trip to Atlanta, and you got your behinds whipped in the first half by the Atlanta Falcons. Try to make a furious comeback in the second half, but fell short 27-24 to the Atlanta Falcons on Monday night. Not good L's by the Rams. And I'm not saying bad L's by the Rams on the fact that, it's the Atlanta Falcons. No, you had the Seahawks beat. You didn't close the deal. Then you walked into Atlanta, and you was not ready to play in the first half. That's what I mean by bad L's. 1 week, you didn't close the deal. The very next week, you didn't start until the second half. You can't have that. That's why it was bad losses. That's why I call them bad losses. Against the Cardinals, didn't start off right. Second half, you blew them out the building. It's been a struggle for the Rams for some reason. Either you start off strong and you don't finish, or you start off late, and you finish well. We got to put it together now. This is do or die. We are now in the win and go home scenario beginning Saturday. Or you can say beginning now because it's the playoff season. So when we take the field Saturday, Los Angeles, it is win or go home. There's no tomorrow. There's no next week. You have to be formed now. Now's the time to get back right. Get back to the team that people looked at and said that is the best team that can win in any way. You want to run the football? They can run the football with Blake Corum and Carryon Williams. You want to throw the ball? They got one of the best passers to ever throw the ball, a Matthew Stafford. You got Puka Nacua on one side, Devontae Adams on the other side, and then how they use the 3 tight end system with the 13 personnel. You don't know which tight end might get the ball. Let's get back to that. Defense. Y'all been slipping lately. You ain't getting not the passer like you used to. You're not stopping the run like you used to. The secondary, you having too many blown coverage. Let's get Chris Schuler, get the defense back right. It's time. You get a reprieve on this one because you get a second chance at the Carolina Panthers, the team that probably started this whole thing off when you got caught and you lost that 6-game winning streak. So maybe this is a time to get that confidence back, to get that redemption back, okay? Speaking of which, the regular season is over, and this is how the regular season finished off. Matthew Stafford threw for over 4,700 yards with 46 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Now, allow me to do some math real quick because I have never seen a stat of 46 and 8 like that before. So I want to do some math. Let me see. If I was to take 46 divided by 8, that's almost 6-1. That's almost a 6-1 ratio of touchdowns to interception. That is ridiculous by Matthew Stafford. But if you want the actual number, is 5.75 to 1 ratio. Carryon Williams, he ran for over 1,200 yards with 10 touchdowns. Puka Nacua, 1,700 receiving yards with 10 touchdowns. Blake Corum, he's starting to get involved, get some touchdowns. Devontae Adams, he leads the league in touchdowns. He had like 14, 15 before we shut him down for the rest of the regular season to get him ready for this game and this playoff run that we got coming up right here. Bryce Young, you had a decent year, sir. You threw for over 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So you just over the 2-to-1 ratio there, sir. Rico Dotto over 1,000 yards rushing with 6 touchdowns. Take McMillan over 1,000 yards receiving with 7 touchdowns. So this is how the regular season have ended for both sides. Matthew Stafford has now become the favorite to win MVP again after finishing strong against the Cardinals, and Drake May pretty much taking a week off against the Dolphins and let his running game and defense take control of that game. So it'll be interesting to see as we get closer to the Super Bowl between Drake May and Matthew Stafford would win MVP. I would love to see Matthew Stafford win MVP, but I would not be surprised, stunned, or mad if Drake May wins it because the Patriots are division champions. We are a wild card team. If you caught last week's show, you heard me say this has only happened, I think, twice in the existence of the NFL that somebody in the wild card spot is named MVP. Usually that goes to guys that are division winners and top teams in their respective conference and also in the NFL. But it has happened before. As I remember correctly, I think it was Jim Brown and Emmitt Smith, if I remember correctly, 2 running backs. Go back and look at it again so I can read it. Okay. While many NFL MVP league successful playoff-bound teams, a few have won the award as members of wildcard teams or even non-playoff teams like O.J. Simpson, running back, 1973, Johnny Unitas, a quarterback, in 1967. Though the NFL MVP is typically given to a player on a dominant team, more recent examples are scarce. But players like Adrian Pearson in 2012, won as a non-quarterback showing dominance, can transcend seeding, but most MVPs come from top seeds. The New England Patriots are the number 2 seed in the AFC. The Rams are the 5th seed in the NFC. It says key examples. O.J. Simpson, 1973 Buffalo Bills won MVP even though the Bills missed the playoffs, highlighting exceptional individual performance. Johnny Unitas, the 1967 Baltimore Colts, also secured the MVP award without his team making the playoffs. So it's possible. It's just hard to do because they want to reward teams that look dominant, reward teams that look good. Drake made and looking at the pages. What a great turnaround. Now I know most people look at it like, but look who they played though. You talking about like the 31st, 32nd worst schedule in the league. True. Very true when you got the Jets, Dolphins twice, and then you play some of the bottom feeding teams in other conferences as well. So yeah, I get your point. Matthew Stafford played one of the toughest schedules. Seahawks twice, 49ers twice, a date with the Detroit Lions, had a date with the Houston Texans, a date with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I get you. I get you. I'm just saying it's rare that a person from a wild card team wins MVP. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's not going to win it. I'm just saying it is a rare thing that happens. But other than that, Los Angeles, without talking about MVPs and all that stuff, do me a favor. Do Ram Nation a favor. Get your payback on the Carolina Panthers. Get your mojo back. That way we can move on to the division round. And most likely take that trip up to the Pacific Northwest and right the wrong of having the Seahawks have home field advantage at that dumbass stadium. With that being said, thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching. Again, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, subscribe to the Playmakers Network. If you're watching on my personal LinkedIn page, connect with me on LinkedIn and slide over to the Playmakers Network YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. If you want to listen to the podcast version, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and whatever else you listen to your podcast is on, it's playoff time. Horns up, Rams house. This is Ramley Talk, Rams Nation, your East Coast station. Enjoy Wildcard Weekend.